Picture this, a hot summer day. In fact, it's so hot that the temperature is over 95 degrees in a state that touches Canada. It had been a long, hot, dry summer, and the conditions were just right for a forest fire. And that's exactly what broke out in the Helena National Forest, where a team of 14 firefighters were called in to fight what they believed to be a 10 a.m. fire. Now, a 10 a.m. fire in the parlance of firefighters means a fire that's going to burn itself out by 10 a.m. the next morning. So these firefighters weren't worried. They were led by the oldest and most experienced of the group, a gentleman by the name of Wagner Dodge. The men got on a C-47 transport plane and they took off, headed into the Helena National Forest, into an area of the world known as Mann Gulch. Because of the high temperatures, the transport plane had to climb an additional 200 feet to let the men parachute out. And as a result of the higher altitude and the hotter temperatures, the parachute on their communications equipment did not open. It was crushed when they hit the ground, but the men weren't worried because they were fighting a 10 a.m. fire. They arrived in Mann Gulch at 4:10 p.m. That's where Wagner Dodge met up with his second in command, a gentleman by the name of Harrison. And Dodge and Harrison, their first act of leadership was to go off and have a little dinner. Then they came back and they met with their men and they led them together into Mann Gulch. They went into Mann Gulch at 5:40 p.m. And at 5:40 p.m., that was when Wagner Dodge saw it. He saw the flames, not 6 feet high, not 16 feet high, but 60 feet high. The wind had shifted. The men were standing on a steep grade, and because of that shift, the unexpected surrounded them on three sides. The men were standing in 2.5-foot tall grass, and they were trapped. Two men, gripped with fear, lost their training, and they decided to shimmy through a crevasse, escaping the blaze. But for the men that remained on the ridge, Wagner Dodge, the leader, he knew he had to take action. And so Wagner Dodge cried out to his men. He said, men, drop your tools. Now, for firefighters, in this situation, all they have are their tools. What their leader was saying wasn't innovative. It wasn't counterintuitive. It sounded insane. And the men, gripped with fear, did not listen. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine the flames? Can you imagine the heat? Can you imagine the sound of the trees as they crumble under this blaze that is nearing the men? Wagner Dodge knew that he had to do something. And so he reached into his pocket and he pulled out a pack of matches. A pack of matches. And he struck a match and began lighting fire to the grass all around him, the 2.5-foot tall grass. And he began burning a circle in the grass that turned into ash. He cried out to his men, men, join me, come to me, come on. No one did. No one listened. But Wagner Dodge knew that you could fight fire with fire. He laid down in the middle of the burnt grass. And as the flames got closer and closer, there was nothing left to burn. Wagner Dodge was the sole survivor of the men who remained on that ridge of the Mann Gulch fire. We know from the hour and minute hand on Harrison's watch, frozen forever in time, when the men expired. 5:56 p.m. 16 minutes. 16 minutes of pandemonium. 16 minutes of unexpected circumstances. 16 minutes when the men were caught off guard. Their training, their preparation led to one of the greatest disasters in the history of the Forestry Service. It took 500 men 4 days to put out this 10 a.m. fire. And if you're curious to know what Mann Gulch looks like, here's a picture. And this is not 2 weeks after the fire. This is nearly 4 decades after the Mann Gulch fire. The Mann Gulch fire is the quintessential story of a failure in leadership, a failure in leadership communication. When a leader had the right idea, but he wasn't able to communicate that idea. He wasn't able to reach the people and the consequences were tragic. Today, we're here to make sure that when you communicate, when you bring your brand story to life, that you are prepared for the unexpected and you prepare the people that you care about so that you can connect with them even when the wind shifts, and you can make sure that nobody gets burned.